Welcome to the DevReady podcast. Joining me on the DevReady podcast today, I have Mark McPherson. For those of you who are listening for the first time, I'm meeting Mark for the first time today as well, and all of us are going to learn a bit more about him and then have a conversation about difficult conversations that you sort of need to have in business, and hopefully we don't have one. I'll hand it over to you, Mark, and I'll let you introduce yourself.
Oh, well, look, I'll be brief. Mark McPherson, I'm Sydney based, and I've been in the business of helping people master tough conversations now for quite a long time. And I'll just say it all started because I took over a team of 14 people once, and 13 were terrific, and one really wasn't behaving well and wasn't performing well. And I found it, I won't lie to you, I found it really hard to know what to say. As a newcomer, you don't want to upset the apple cart, and I found it really hard. So I went to lots of seminars and I read lots of books, and they just didn't cut it, Anthony. I wanted practical stuff I could use right now, not philosophical stuff, not about why are people difficult or why this and the psychology of it all. That's fine, but what people like me need is straight down the line advice, and I was unable to get that.
That's an interesting position to be put in when you've got one person not performing, because then they start bringing down the rest of the team.
Well, it's even worse than that, because the rest of the team are saying, "Hey, manager, why aren't you fixing this? I'm doing my work. I'm performing well. I behave correctly. I don't make sexist comments or racist comments. How come that other person seems to be getting away with it?" And then you know that. You feel that. Even if they don't say it, you feel it. And you go home at the end of the day. People don't use this term with me, but I think it's true. They lose respect for themselves. No one ever comes to me and say, "Mark, I don't have any self-respect." They come with me saying, "Oh, I know I'm not doing the best job." I go home at the end of the day going, "Oh, I should have had this." And they tell me about Sunday nights when they say, "Tomorrow morning, I really have to deal with that person. I can't put it off another week." So I think it's a lot about self-respect. You want to be able to go home feeling good about yourself, say hello to your spouse, your kids, pat the dog, and relax. And unfortunately, people often can't.
It's a confronting thing to have those difficult conversations, as you call them. It's people don't like to offend other people, and that could be part of what it is. Especially if you're employing someone or working with them, have a conversation where you're either going to offend them, it's going to cause animosity between yourselves, or it'll just change sort of like the air in the room moving forward.
Look, no one wants this stuff. Here's the ideal. We go to work, people do their work, we have a joke, someone's birthday, yeah, let's have a cake. That's not a problem. Yeah. And you want to go home at the end of the day saying, "Yeah, we've all done a pretty good job. Oh, it was stressful, but we've done it." No one wants to have these conversations, and it's why we put them off. And let's be honest, I put them off. Who wants to have them? Maybe if I let it go another 24 hours, they'll come around.
Yeah.
See the error of their ways. But it's not pleasant. It's not fun. Yet we have to step up to the plate and have them, because things just get worse when we don't.
Yeah, people don't like being uncomfortable. I think that's all it stems from.
And you don't want to make... It's not that you just don't want to make your own self uncomfortable. Having to talk to someone who thinks they're doing a good job,
yeah, it's
but they're not. That's not pleasurable. I take no pleasure whatsoever in looking at someone straight in the face. Well, there are techniques where you don't look at someone straight in the face, by the way, because that's hard on both of you. But no one wants to have to say to someone, "Look, thanks for your report and the work you've done for the last 2 weeks. However, it's not what I actually asked you to do." and there's some mistakes in it. That's not fun. I don't want to do that. That's not what I go to work for.
Yeah, so those manager positions are sometimes probably the ones that have to experience that a bit more, because when you're managing the team, they don't have the responsibility to deal with that, but it is affecting them.
Absolutely. And I deal with a lot of managers who are new managers. In fact, recently I'm working with 2 managers in a rather large company, and they were here on the floor as they use that term, were on the floor. Now they're here, and they have to look at people who they are friends with,
Yep.
who they go to the pub with on a Friday night. In one case, they'd even been to someone's wedding, and now they have to turn around to their mates and say, what you said at the staff meeting yesterday about Rachel or whatever was not acceptable, and I don't want you to ever say it again. And you've got to say it as I'm looking to you. It's not like, oh, you really shouldn't say those sorts of
Yeah,
things.
you have to mean it.
I'll just throw in a few little terms for you. I call it being tactfully assertive. Assertive is straight down the line. We can all be assertive, but I do like the idea of being tactfully assertive. Try tact first. It would be better if. I can see you've put in a lot of effort for. This bit here could be improved. I would have done it slightly differently. We try these things first, but sometimes, anyone who's been a parent knows this.
Yep.
You try really hard to get people around to doing the right thing. It'd be great if you tidied up your room, but sometimes you've just actually got to say, put it away or else.
Yep.
No parent wants to do that. No manager wants to do that. Hopefully they don't.
No, hopefully they don't. It's the wrong kind of person to be in that position if they do. So in that position you were placed in when you had that team of 14 and you had to confront that one employee, you couldn't find the right resources. So what did you just like rip the Band-Aid off and just decide to have the conversation, or how did you approach it?
Well, let's just be honest here. I made plenty of mistakes. So first of all, my big mistake was putting this off for way too long. That was my first thing. Maybe this. But I created my own material. That's what I eventually did. I went to a 2-day course once, and got halfway through the first day, and we did some butcher's paper, and we got to know each other, and it was fun. But I said, but when do we actually learn what to do? So one of the things I've written is what I call personal conversation scripts. These are the outlines of what to say, in what order, and when to stop. Because we have a tendency to say this extra stuff. And I've seen people spoil everything that they've said by saying, "Oh, I'm really sorry it came to this," and I wish I wasn't in this position. Just stop it.
Okay.
I'm not saying you should be harsh, but you've got things to say. Say those things, and then that's it. Don't put the boot in. Here's another one that sometimes we're too soft, but sometimes we put the boot in. I hope I've made myself very clear. Why would you say that?
Yeah, true. It's a bit aggressive, or
well, it doesn't add anything except it does take things away. Oh, and now you're saying not only have you told me my work's no good, you're now telling me I'm hard of hearing. So
it's just another dig.
Yeah, it's a bit of a dig, and I think it's unnecessary. So yes, I wrote these things that I call personal conversation scripts, but you have to tailor them to yourself. And I go a step further. You have to personalise them, because the way I speak, I'm 71 now, by the way, so the way I speak and the way I was brought up, in the culture I was brought up, is not the way other people speak. And it's about where you live. It's not your ethnic culture, so to speak. Yep. It's everything. So, yeah, we have to tailor them. But I like the script, so
it's just.
And then, as I like to say, Anthony,
and then you zip it.
Zip it.
Yes, there's no point just adding extra things or just trying to make further points once you've made the main point.
Well, you've raised another issue about once you've made the main point. My experience is make it one point. People want to say, oh, and another thing. Oh,
and then it just starts turning into like...
And another thing. The other day, so the person who's listening to you, the person you are, for lack of a better expression, bawling out, they get confused, and I feel for them. Now, are you talking about my report now, or are we talking about something I said at the staff meeting, or are you now talking about I was apparently late 2 weeks ago? So
you start bringing up
that's another little tip. Just, if you can, I'm not saying it's always possible, but if you can, just make it, correct one thing at a time. Mm-hmm. If it's their report writing, if it's their language, if it's their lateness to work, just make it one thing.
It makes it. It's not just a difficult conversation at that point. It feels like you're attacking them if you just keep going and digging in with points, and then they're going to get on the offensive. They won't actually take the message that you're trying to share with them on the one critical point that you were meant to just be discussing.
You are spot on, because if you want to fight with a truly difficult person, just say stuff like, and another thing, and and don't just say it. But lean in,
Yep.
and go like this, and another thing. It's rarely helpful, and you get into discussions, and there's a whole nother topic we'll talk about in a few minutes about what language we should use. One of the things, as I was saying, I'm into writing personal conversation scripts for people, and that to me is a great basis, because people often don't know what to say, and they say things. And here's a little example of one of the things that people will say. Our language, no matter what language it is, it's rich. There's lots of things we can use to describe behaviour. So someone a little while ago, and I keep using this, I think it's a great example, said, I've got someone on my team who's belligerent. And I said, can you not tell them that? and the reason why is that that's not a fact. What people do is we describe behaviour. We look at behaviour and we think, well, oh, that's belligerent, that's disrespectful. And it may well be. That's not the point. The point is that once you say to somebody, oh, you're being disrespectful, I just think of a teenager, oh, how am I? And then you have to explain what you mean. Mm-hmm. So you may as well just cut to the chase and not get into a debate or even an argument. Oh, I'm not disrespectful, you're disrespectful. What about Bill? He's disrespectful. Just get rid of that and just stick to the actual facts. Yesterday at the staff meeting, I'll just say Bill for no particular reason. Yesterday at the staff, sorry to all those Bills out there, that yesterday at the staff meeting, Bill, we had a female presenter get up to speak, and you said, oh, not another woman, or whatever it happens to be, right? I'm just using that as an example. Yep. Stick to the facts. That's what you said. That's not acceptable. That's not appropriate. That's not satisfactory. It's against the rules, whatever it happens to be. Stick to the actual behaviour. Then there's not a debate, unless they deny actually saying it, which is always possible. But once you say, yesterday at the staff meeting, you were rude. Oh, what do you mean I was rude? Yes, you were definitely rude, Bill. Well, what are you talking about? And then they think you're just vague and silly and going on about stuff. And the last thing you ever want when you have these conversations with a member of staff or anyone is for them to go away and go, I have no idea what he was talking about.
Yeah, so you've got to stick to the facts, not opinions.
Yeah, so I call them facts. And someone a while ago said to me, oh, you want me to be boring and dull, Mark? And I said, look, if that's what you call it, fine. To me, it's not boring and dull. It's just sticking to the facts so that there's no debate and discussion about what does that mean? What does that mean? I'm not belligerent. It's just silly. So I'd say stick to the facts. And if that's boring and dull, so be it.
Yeah. And then sticking to the facts rather than having the opinion or adding in all the extra like salt and the extra words that you're using will help you probably separate like a bit of personal from the conversation, personal wording or opinions or image from the conversation, I'm assuming as well, because now it's company policy is this, you did this. It's not me saying that this is what happened or why it shouldn't be said. It's company policy. Because I'm guessing that's probably how you have to frame everything.
Absolutely. And in some of my personal conversation scripts, we start off with the two things you've just mentioned, which is F, facts, and the next thing is E for explain. Explain why it's a problem. You at the staff meeting said this is a problem because. And that word because is such a great word. Even parents just use it by itself, because. But taking it away from you, it's okay, by the way, to be personally offended by something. I found your foul language. Yesterday at the staff meeting, you said sometimes you actually have to say what the word was. I'm sorry, but it said that I was personally offended by that language. And it says in our company policy that we need to keep our language respectful. Well, as much as I don't like that word, to me, that word was not respectful, and I don't want you to say it again. So I'm so glad you mentioned that, because it is, here's what happened, but so what? Because that's what someone will say, yeah, so what? You know, the guest presenter is an idiot. No, well, that's a problem for me, or that's against our company policy. Or, as sometimes it's not written into company policy, it's called good manners.
Yep. And it'll become policy the next week.
It should become policy.
Because it's, and depending on sort of how close-knit the team is or how relaxed, they may start saying, oh, there's other people that are doing it, or they said it the one before, or they also said it, but I don't know some things we're going to have to tell kids, some things you have to think and not say. So think as much as you want, just don't say it out loud.
There's nothing going to stop anyone from thinking that that this person's a jerk or whatever. Yeah. But can you not say it? That's important. But you raised something there about other people. This does happen all the time. People say, but what happens if they say, oh, how come you didn't stop Susan from doing this, or whatever it happens to be? Well, this boils down to being consistent. Any manager, any parent, anyone who's the chairperson of a community organisation needs to be consistent. You can't just pick and choose who you chip on their foul language or their blaspheming or whatever it happens to be. You must be consistent, and that's what teams expect. They expect you as the manager, the leader, whatever you want to, the boss. They expect you to have rules, but they expect them to be evenly applied and often swiftly.
Yeah, it needs to be consistent to everyone, so everyone understands what the expectations are. Because if you let something slide, the expectations are going to be unknown, so then they think they can do that.
Which brings me right back to a basic thing that I sometimes work with companies for is, what are your standards here? And I often call them team protocols or whatever. We all know you're supposed to come to work. It's in the duty statement. You come to work at this time, do this, you don't leave, you fill in your timesheet if we're still doing that sort of thing, whatever it happens to be. But there's other little things that often aren't written down, like who tidies up the meeting room? And someone will say, oh, we have a cleaner for that. Well, yes, but the cleaner comes in at 4:00 and I need the meeting room now at 2, and there's sandwiches and things everywhere. So these are the little things that often get under people's skin. I'm surprised at how many times I work with people and organisations. It's not the work. I read on LinkedIn and elsewhere, oh, it's the bad bosses, that's why you leave, toxic bosses or this, that, and that. Usually, in my experience, it's the little things. Like, okay, we have a dishwasher, but no one's told me I'm supposed to empty it. Just keep putting things in it. It's these things, open planned workrooms, workspaces. Those sorts of things create hassles. People, someone speaks too loudly. Well, what is the rule? Do we have what is the system here? When someone goes to the toilet, do you answer their phone? These are the little things which really bug people. And why does Bill speak so loudly on the phone to his mother for half an hour? I do not want to hear about their personal turmoils in their family.
Everyone needs to be on the same page and understand what's expected of them and when they should sort of like share the load. But I think that's going to come down to a difference in people, because you'll get some people that are a bit more autonomous and do a bit more than others. Oh. So they'll be emptying the dishwasher and loading it. Then eventually they may get resentful about no one else ever doing it. But they may not talk about it.
Absolutely. And it's up to them, I think, to actually raise these issues. But I'm going to give the other side of the story here. I have worked in places where someone does that and organises the birthday cake and does this. And I'm saying, do you actually do any work? Everything's being, and they're rearranging the meeting room and putting up some lovely posters to make it look nicer. That's fine. But there's always some sort of, dare I use the word balance, but there's always got to be some sort of balance in this. But I'm into where it often starts is standards. So if somebody says, your report, Anthony, is not as good as it should be, well, who said that? Like, where's that rule? So that's why I'm really keen on what I call standards of behaviour, because if you're not clear about those right from the word go, then you will get backlash because, well, who said I was supposed to tidy up the meeting room? Oh, it's common sense. Is it? Is it? Well, one thing I would like to leave your listeners with, because I want to give them something that they can really take away with. I mean, I think what we've discussed is important already, but I'm going to give you one of my little scripts because I think this is useful. It won't be earth-shattering. No one's going to say, oh man, I've never thought of that before. But what I like to do is put it in a script so that it's easy to remember. It's not just in the back of your mind, maybe. So, and I've started it already. FEA. F for facts. This is what's happened. Explain the problem. And the A is for ask a question. This does not always work. I'm not suggesting you should always do it, but I can give you an example where I had someone who made some big mistakes on their timesheet. Now, a part of me says deliberate mistake in their favour.
Yep.
Right? Shock and horror. It wasn't my biggest issue, and that's another thing we've got to work out. How big an issue really is this? Because we can get bees in our bonnet too about something. So I said to, I'll just say Michael for convenience, mainly because that was his name. But here's a little trick, and I'm just going to use my mobile phone because I don't have anything. I don't have paper these days. Who has paper?
No one.
But you can use it with a laptop or whatever it happens to be. Okay. So I said, Michael, the nice pleasantries. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for all that sort of stuff. Okay, fine. But I said, Michael, I noticed here on your timesheet, and I said blah, blah, blah. So we're looking at this on your timesheet, and I explained exactly what days he'd came in at what time, and I knew that was not correct. On the Monday, I did the same with the Tuesday, I did the same with the Wednesday. Now, here's a little trick. First of all, looking at Michael's face is hard work. Right? This is hard work. There's a limit to how long you want to look at someone in the face. So no wonder we look at their nose and so you may as well grab something.
Distract that.
So you know exactly what you're talking about. And here's another little trick. This is the bad thing.
Yep. Okay.
This is the bad thing. And when parents talk to their teenage son or daughter about their report card, they often do this. They hold it in front. Here's this, blah, 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 and then they say, look at it. They might even say, hold it. And then the parent says to themselves, something's not working here. And they are very tempted to say, oh, we love you. It's your behaviour that's the problem. Well, I'm sorry, all of this really said it was them. But if you hold it to the side and say, this is the problem, this report card. We're not letting you off the hook, but this is the timesheet, that's a problem. And that's when I said the facts, and that's when I put it upside down, and then I said the E for explain. Michael, that thing is a problem for me because I have to sign it as a true and accurate record, and I can't do that. That's the problem. What we're tempted to say is, you stuffed up that timesheet.
Yeah.
How long have you been here for? Yeah. It's not worth it. But so what I said was facts and explain the problem. I'm in charge. And then I asked a question. Is there something I need to know? Now that's his opportunity, right?
An explanation.
He could say anything he liked. This was not the biggest issue in my life. It really wasn't, 15 minutes on a timesheet. It was just, I had the obligation to actually deal something with it. So, but I could have asked another question. How do you think you and I can fix this? What do you think you can do now to make sure that's more accurate in future? There's all sorts of things. What do you think we should do next? Is there something that the company should be doing to make sure we can fix these things up? There's lots of things you can ask. it's not always the right thing to do to ask those questions. But in a lot of cases is, and it's saved me so much time because they know they've done the wrong thing. They know they've stuffed it up. And yes, they'll say, oh, I'll fix that up and make sure that it never happens again. Beautiful. That's all.
It's just avoid trying to sound like you're attacking them. I think that's cleanly and just very professionally talk to them and mention, stick to the facts, explain where the issue is, ask questions that can help them try and resolve the issue themselves. So I'm guessing that's going to put some more ownership on them and help with it.
In my experience, it's the best way to go. There's 3 questions you really need to ask before you have these conversations. I think you need to get the answers to them. Number 1 is, what is the actual problem? I deal with people all the time who don't know what the problem is. Oh, they're just always hopeless. You know, really, I'm sorry. I had managers and people say this to me. Oh, they're always, you know, they're such a know-all. I don't know what that. It's not going to cut it at a disciplinary meeting to say they're a know-all. You've got to be a lot clearer than that. So exactly what is the problem? What's happened and what's the problem? But the second question is, what do you want the person to do? Because in every tough conversation, every difficult conversation you have at work or at home, it's to get the person to do something. And people often say to me, oh, I just wanted to get something off my chest. Sure. Don't expect the person to listen to if all you're doing is getting something off your chest. Or if you do, then all they have to do is go, anything else? Yep. What do you want the person to do? Because I guarantee it, if you think about it, in every one of these tough conversations, you want the person to do something, to fix the report, to not come to work late, to curtail their rude language, to fix up their timesheet, something, to tidy that teenage son. If you just want to bawl them out, go for it. But in the long run, what do you want them to do? You want them to be a better member, a team member of the house, if you like.
Yeah, you want to improve behaviour and just have a better environment.
You want to have a better relationship. Yeah. So work those. And my third question is always, is a tough conversation the best way of resolving this? The answer is often yes, but there are times when you can do things to stop it. And this will sound crazy, Anthony, but I actually had some adults I moved. Yeah. Like I was in primary school. In fact, I wrote a LinkedIn post about this not that long ago, about are we in primary school? And what I wanted to say was, well, if you act like primary school kids, but you don't, because that's rude and inflammatory. Yeah. But I moved them because talking to them was time consuming. It wasn't working. The easiest thing is to move both of you. And then one of them said, why should I have to move? It's all their fault. Oh.
This sounds like you're dealing with
you're just digging a hole for yourself.
Yeah, some people just personalities clash and it doesn't get along, or they get along too well and then they're distracted.
Well, all of these things can happen. You know, where's Susie and John? Oh, they're out having a cup of coffee. How many times do these people have to have a cup of coffee during the day? I guess if they're doing their work, it doesn't matter. But that's one little script. Yep. The FEA, but I'm going to give you another one, if that's okay. I mean, I'm in your hands.
No, go for it.
Is FEWER. Surprise, surprise. F and E is the same. So,
yep.
What I did with Michael after he failed I asked a question. By the way, he failed that by him coming back and saying, oh, I thought we were friends. I thought you wouldn't worry about a few minutes. I work harder than anyone else here. Wrong answer, Mike. I was really trying to let you off the hook here. And if he has got legitimate complaints about other people not working, believe me, I was happy to hear those. That's not a problem. But what I did with Michael was say, I do hear you, Michael. I get that. This is what I need from you. This timesheet, blah, 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 it's a problem for me, and I don't care if he's heard it already. It's a problem because I put it down, I actually put it upside down. And then I said, what I want you to do, Michael, is to correct that and never make a mistake again. That's what I want. I want the person to do something. I don't want them to apologise. I don't want them to grovel to me. Although that would have been fun. That what I want. And then the next E is again explain. Why will that be a good thing? Now you'd think as adults they don't need this. But unfortunately, it's just best to say it. This script, by the way, goes for about 26 seconds. It's not hard. But there's the facts. That's why. Explain a problem. This is what I want from you. And that'll be a good thing, Michael, because we'll never have to have this conversation again. That's it. I could have said, because you'll be abiding by the rules or whatever. That's it. The R is the rewards and penalties. I've got other things on my mind. So that's the reward. I'm not taking away anyone's pocket money.
It's just making it everything you're expecting clear. If anyone's listening out there, all those links will be in the show notes, so then you'll be able to find a way to easily reach Mark. Once again, Mark, thank you for that. I'm sure those little scripts, I'm going to re-listen to that and just take note of them in my own notes and remember them for the future, because we all tend to put off those conversations, and 99.9% of the time it's better you do them sooner than later, but you don't want to. So I think I'm going to have a little bit of a perspective shift on that. So thank you.